Welcome back, everybody, to the World of Wraith YouTube channel. I got with you guys not only a sort of deck profile, but also a calling to all the Liath fans out there. I want to show you guys the builds that I've kind of had with Liath. Now, this has very limited testing, and it's a lot of theory. A lot of the cards in Teleshar, I think, aren't coded properly just yet. And, the set's not out. This is super early, but this is what I've kind of found for Liath, and kind of want to bring it to you guys. Feel free to try out the decks. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think is bad, what you would want to edit. And I got three different versions because Liath, being a guardian that doesn't play like other guardians, as well as having 5 intellect, is actually making him very interesting to deck build with him. So let's get right into it. Like I said, I got three of them. The first one is kind of called Evil Lyath, which kind of wants to boo. Mocking Blow is one of his better cards. Him having all your attack and defense values makes it really interesting, so that like these low cost one value attacks are actually pretty good since they don't lose anything. And Red Mocking Blow, of course, also having one. So it can be like a 1 card 5. Low Blow, this is kind of like a 1 card or 1 resource 5, since this is going to go down to 2. And if you've been booed, he gets +3. Mainly, you want to be using cards like Villainous Pose to get the crowd to boo you. Concealed Object. And one of his main power cards is Leave Them Hanging. I think this should be in every Liath build. I think being able to intimidate your opponent on their turn as an instant is kind of ridiculous. The value you can get out of this card is, I don't think any deck can kind of get that type of value. I mean, the fact that it's like as an instant speed makes it very unique. In the palm of your hands, I think it's just a kind of way to invest into your future hand. When it leaves the field and enters the field, you'll get a draw. So when you play it, you'll get a draw, refunding itself. You'll have one floating. And then when it leaves, you're also going to get a draw. Having 5 intellect is pretty good, but with the palm of your hand, once it leaves, you could even be looking at a 6 card hand, which can be pretty crazy. Now, we did talk about Vile Pose, but we also have Revolting Gesture, just to kind of pump your attacks. And also creating mites in Liath is actually very important. A lot of your cards want you to have auras around. Let's check out Battered, Beaten, and Broken. When it attacks Intimidate, if you control 3 or more auras, this gets +3, and when it hits, destroy an intimidated card you own. So making mites with Cruel Ambition, with Revolting Gesture, or if you get booed and you make a mite with Liath, it all kind of plays into his game plan and kind of enables one of his stronger cards. Because why are we really playing Liath? What are his like broken cards? Mocking Blow, I wouldn't even say this is too broken. This is like a 1 card 5, which is pretty good. Leave Them Hanging is definitely broken and a reason to play Liath. Battered, Beaten, and Broken is definitely strong and one of the cards to make him play it. I don't think RKO can play this. I don't know how much auras RKO is going to be making besides Vigor. Pretty interesting. We finally got 0 cost Guardian attacks. These have a nice on hit, but getting them to 13 can be kind of hard. That's why we're playing these pumps, and as well as Leave Them Hanging. +3 can help you. Making mites can help you. Escalate Violence is super strong, being able to make 3 mites if you control a mite. So you kind of want to set up these big turns and then send these Guardian attacks with crazy on hits, like discard a card, which is not that crazy, but yeah, I mean, discarding a card is pretty good. The value of Liath is very strange, so really trying to figure out what cards are worth playing. Like Spew Obscenities, it's kind of weird as a yellow. It's just a 3 attack on hit. You can make a confidence, and a might, which is pretty good, but nothing crazy. I think it's more of anything just like a role filler. Liath has very few attacks that are, worth actually playing. Like I said, Mocking Blow is pretty good. Low Blow, these Guardian cards. This one's not even a Guardian, it's just reviled. Escalate Violence, reviled. Goon Beatdown. If you have 3 auras, when this hits, the crowd boos you and it gets +3. So a lot of his attacks are kind of require a lot. They require you to do a quest to really get the most out of them. But when you do fulfill that quest, like a blue 0 for 4 that makes a might on hit essentially, it's pretty good for a blue. And it blocks 3. Terra Thunder, I don't think this card is the card that you should be playing to cast. I think it's a blue block 3. It'll be used for blocking, it'll be used for Liath abilities, maybe really late game. Or if you can set up a really nice turn with a lot of mites or a nice amount of pumps, you can play it on one of these. But it's not something that we should be, actively trying to cast, because the math is actually really bad for 2 cards for dominating +1 and the on hit discard 2. If you do get the discard 2, it's pretty good, but a lot of the times the math on this is just not worth it. But Liath does have 5 intellect, so I think he is one of the few heroes that might be able to just use this effectively. And like I said, this is all just early Talishar testing. Tell me how this works for you. I don't think this is going to be one of his better builds, but something interesting. Now, Aura Liath, I think is more likely to be where he's kind of heading towards the meta. There's a lot of different ways to build this hero, so being able to play these suspense auras and kind of trying to set up a really big attack, I think might be the way he wants to be played. These yellow attacks are just like his bread and butter. Playing so many auras also kind of gives you access to Overcrowded as an additional attack. It gets +1 attack and defense for each different aura in the arena. So not only your side of the field, but your opponent's. And this can block from the arsenal. So it's pretty interesting. Also, playing so many auras gives you Imposing Visage. It gives you pretty crazy plays turn 1. Shout out my boy Josh. He told me about Embolden, and I think this card might be crazy in Aura Liath. When it enters the arena, if you control another non-token aura, draw a card. And then at the beginning of the action phase, destroy this. Next Guardian gets +5. Playing all these auras, as well as Embolden, even Embolden Blue gives you +3. I think could work towards Liath's game plan of setting up one big turn, doing a bunch of damage, and then on the other turns, you might not be attacking, you might just be setting up. A lot of Flesh and Blood decks want to block, so I think you not attacking is actually going to hamper their strategy a lot if you're taking these on and off turns. Now this build with auras doesn't play as many of the Boo cards. We still do play Mocking Blow Red, because I think it's one of the best cards in Liath if you can get 5 value out of it. But we're not playing like all the pumps, the 1 for 4, or the 2 for 4 and the 1 for 5. And Power Play, another great blue. Base attack is 1, so Liath doesn't really cut it down. It can be a 2-card 6, which is pretty good for Liath. The thing about his 5 intellect is if we're constantly getting 3 value out of our cards, our hand cycles should be 15, which is pretty good for our turn cycle. Now, this is like a slower build-up, do one big attack. I think Terra Thunder shines a little more in this build. But for the last build, kind of goes into what I was saying about getting 15 value out of your hand. I don't know if this is going to be the best way to play Liath, but I definitely think it's very interesting. If we just have 5 intellect, if we're constantly getting at least 3 value out of our cards, hopefully more, we should be outvaluing our opponent. So, shout out my boy Dan. He kind of came up with the idea of playing Minimalism, not Belittle because it's banned. I was almost going to say Belittle. And honestly, I wasn't sold on this, but that's why I put it here. I wanted more people to try it, take a look, because these cards are just 3 offensively. Fiddler's Green is 4 value, I should say. Sigil of Solace is just 3 value. Cruel Ambition, 3 value. Battered Not Broken, preventing 2 damage and making a might. It's 3 value. So this is kind of all like, let's get good value out of our 5-card hands. We do play Tunic. Tunic for Rampart is pretty good. But we have Revolting Gesture as another Tunic outlet, as well as Escalate Violence. So this is one is pretty basic. Kind of just, try to outvalue your opponent. If you can set up some mites, you can use these big attacks. I think Leave Them Hanging should just be in every Liath deck. This is basically a Liath specialization, so I think using this at the right time can give you way more than 7 value. Let's say you intimidate a card, you can think of that as 3, and then when this leaves the arena, you get 4. So you should be getting 7 value at the lowest on this card, but I think this card can be like a turn skip. This might be Exodia. Like, this card is crazy. Trot Along. Everything in this deck is pretty much a Trot Along target. So, yeah, all of his attacks, even power play, is kind of like a Trot Along target. Another real cool thing to know about Liath, if he's using Arcane Barrier, he's just getting 3 out of his blues. And then he also can just play Oasis Respite, cards like Peace of Mind, to really give him a ton of value. If you use Peace of Mind, a blue, and Rampart, you're going to get 4 prevention, 1 block, and then a Ponder, which you can think of as 3. So you're kind of doing 2-card 8 with Peace of Mind. So we're also playing the Swift Strike Bracers. Liath's armor is very weird, as he halves the value of his cards. That includes his armor. So another reason why Liath's armor is so weak is we can't really be playing Temper. I think it'll just break on 1 hit. Arcanite Skullcap, I definitely think it's going to be his preferred headpiece, as he can get +1 if you have less life than him, than your opponent, I should say. And that's kind of why we're not playing so many of the Boo cards. A lot of the Boo cards want you to be more health than your opponent. We're only playing Mocking Blow, like I said. This card's great. But if you're lower health, Arcanite Skullcap, given that +1 block, is really good because for a Guardian, Liath has little to no fridge. Getting 2 points of value out of your arm piece. I don't know if this is the way he's going to be built once he comes into the meta game, but I think it's super interesting to try out. If you can stack a couple of mites and a couple of these pumps on your Guardian attacks, it could be pretty devastating. But that pretty much wraps it up, guys. I'll leave all the deck lists on the description down below. I want you guys to try them. Let me know what you think. Tell me how your experience with Liath has been. If you have a different version, different cards that I'm not looking at, definitely let me know down below, because I think this hero has a lot of potential. And there's definitely going to be tons of different ways to build him. If you guys have any questions, let me know down in the comments below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Peace.